everyone, and welcome back to episode 5 of Phaser Friday. This episode is brought to you by our good friends at Black Iron Dirt and Demolition. Black Iron is based out of Fargo, North Dakota, and they can take care of any finish grade excavation projects, any land clearing, anything you need for the spring or summer. Give Black Iron a call. You can also check out their website at blackirndirt.com. We work very closely with them and are very, very impressed with the work they do and the communication that they have. And the reviews we've heard from other people that we refer them to is exceptional. So feel free to give Black Iron Dirt and Demolition a call for your any of your spring projects, and we'll go from there. With that, I'd like to introduce our episode 5 guest. She is a longtime friend, close family friend as well. And I'm so excited to have her on and just talk some business and talk about her life. And that is Beth Pridday. Welcome on, Beth.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, this is so exciting. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to do this. And I can't wait to finally release this episode and really dig into some business here. So,
yeah, I'm excited to be on. I had a chance to review the other podcasts you've been doing, and I absolutely love hearing the entrepreneurial stories. That is right up my alley, as you will find out.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's what it's all about too, is just, talking about entrepreneurship and talking about business. And it's really what gets me going. And I think a lot of people, a lot of our listeners too, they just love hearing about business and different tips and advice, and also different stories of how people got started. So with that, can you tell us a little bit more about your backstory, where you're from, and what you do?
Yeah, you bet. Well, I am a little bit of a transient. Actually, Detroit Lakes, your hometown, is the longest I've ever lived anywhere. And that's a testament to the great city that we live in. But prior to that, I was born in North Dakota, went to college. My undergrad's from NDSU. And I graduated from there and went on to grad school with just a short little gap of some work in marketing and advertising. And I went to grad school at the University of South Dakota in Vermilion. And really my educational background is in marketing, public relations, and communications. That's kind of the lane I thought I was going to take. Like everybody, I had that first big job interview at a newspaper down in Oklahoma, and found out what the starting wage was going to be. And I thought, wow, I might want to rethink my career path. And so I think that really was kind of my first taste in thinking I might want to look at a bigger picture kind of opportunity. And so I did work a bit in marketing and advertising. I have a strong background in fundraising and nonprofit. That's sort of been my career for the last 25 years, off and on. And I think that's also what's led me to be what I would call myself as a serial entrepreneur. I currently own 3 businesses. I've owned a variety of businesses in the past. And actually, my last, paid gig that wasn't entrepreneurial driven was I was the director of entrepreneurial services at M-State, the technical college located here in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. And if there was ever anything to motivate and excite you about entrepreneurism, it is that job. My primary job was to incubate or help grow and nurture entrepreneurs into grown-up businesses and throw them out into the big real world. And we did that in a variety of ways, both with credit-based courses, non-credit courses. And then the concept that I developed when I worked there was incubators. And we had, I believe, about 47 offices in 5 cities. And it was an opportunity for somebody to basically grow an idea in a safe space with low overhead and get the support they need to grow their business and then hopefully insert themselves in the community of their choice. So it gives me pride to know I have not been at that job in just about 7 years now, but it gives me pride to know that I look around and I see some of those businesses still thriving and surviving in the Lakes area. So that was my last paid gig, and now I've been full-time entrepreneur ever since then.
That's incredible. I think that's why I was so excited to have you on, because you have such a vast marketing background. And then at the same time, this entrepreneurial background, I'm like, that is like exactly what I'm doing. And also trying to figure out along the way. And just a lot of people that I talk to or that have questions, they have questions about entrepreneurship, and like, I don't have all the answers, but I encourage them to ask me, just because I feel like I can point them to somebody that does have the answers. So, and I can hear that. I mean, and I know that with you, it's just, you love to help people, and it's just got to be so rewarding to see, especially some of those businesses that are still active today, and, where they started from maybe not knowing anything about business to kind of learning the ropes, and, not the perfect formula, but just kind of learning what it takes to run a successful business. And as I was saying that, I kind of just thought of a question, but you said you started for a newspaper. How has marketing changed over time? And I kind of want to, add something to that too. Is it consistent? I guess digital marketing and traditional marketing has changed, but would you agree that word of mouth and just being a good person is, probably one of the biggest attributes you can have as a marketer or an entrepreneur?
Oh, absolutely. I would say that's the one thing that's held the test of time. And I would say that's even strengthened with the advent of social media and instant connection, like, cell phones and texting and Instagram and all of those things, because that is just a different form of word of mouth. But if I would dare say I go on daily on, let's just say, a platform like Facebook, and there's always people saying, I'm in search of a person to do this. I'm looking for a new car. What did you buy? It is a powerful word of mouth tool. It's just a little different presentation. But still, knowing your neighbor and asking them a question. One of the funniest stories I have to tell you is, I thought the greatest marketing technique in any format is living on a lake. And in the spring, when you have your dock put out, every neighbor's looking to see who's putting your dock out, and they're coming over. Hey, what dock service did you hire? You spray your lawn, they're coming on over to check out who's doing your lawn service. In this kind of environment, everybody wants sort of a recommendation. So yeah, always putting your best foot forward, having exceptional customer service, having some kind of branding where people can see what truck is parked in your driveway, or even a t-shirt, a $10 t-shirt that you might have on while you're putting the dock in. You cannot put a price tag on that kind of marketing. I know a lot of people think that it has to be really high level, billboard, thousands of dollars marketing. But I always told my entrepreneurs, and I tell myself this because I run a small budget business as well. Stay within your means, know where your customers are looking for the information, and don't forget to always be your brand everywhere you go. I mean, I look at you right now, interviewing me. You're all about your brand. That's awesome. I love it. Absolutely. Yeah. Shout out to Phaser Marketing. But it's just nice to put a face with the brand. And as long as you're representing that in a, ethical, amazing customer service, good image, that's invaluable. There's no price tag on that.
Totally. Yeah. And I didn't realize that at first. I think when I started Phaser, I thought it was all about, digital marketing and, we'll do everything. And I soon realized that you do need those core business skills and that personality, and just being a good person, those ethics and everything. And so now we're very selective with the businesses we work with, because, we'll have people contact us and they'll just say, they're looking for like a lifeline, and they'll say, Phaser, can you just take over our business and make us a success? I'm like, I don't think that's how it works. We can definitely help. We can build your website. We can work with your voice on social media. We can drive more traffic to your website, but ultimately you got to deliver the service and, utilize that word of mouth and get those reviews. And there's just so many things that we need help with as well. And so we kind of we definitely got away from the client to agency relationship. And now we're more of just partners with businesses.
Yeah, fantastic. Like I said, it's an invaluable relationship. And honestly, you need to know a business is invested personally into their own business. The minute you become faceless and the minute you don't have a connection to your business anymore, it's really a struggle to be a success. I know you don't want to work 24/7. You certainly want to empower the people you hire and that kind of thing. But a funny story I always tell, obviously we're going to get to this, but I happen to own the Detroit Lakes ice cream truck. And of course, we're the happiest little truck in town.
Yeah.
And just the other day, I drove up to an event and my first customer was probably an 8-year-old girl. And she yelled in my window, "Do you remember me?" And I always say yes, because we serve hundreds of kids, thousands of kids, I dare say, at the end of the school year. And of course, many of these kids have seen me come to the schools and serve, and they want to know if I remember them from their school. While I don't remember every name and every face, I certainly remember that our number one customer is kids. So I always say yes. They're excited. I usually know what a kid is going to order, and there we have an instant connection. So that kind of marketing is, like I said, can't put a price tag on it.
Totally. And I love that. And a lot of it too is just, experience too. For me, it's kind of learning, like, it's not all about, digital marketing. It's not all about this or that. It takes a lot of different moving parts to run a successful business. And I kind of wanted to pivot a little bit. I want to talk a little bit more about the DL community. I know you'd mentioned that earlier. That's the longest place you've lived. Tell me more about the Detroit Lakes community and why it's so special to you and to others that live there.
Yeah, absolutely. I came into Detroit Lakes in a very strange entry story. We never even saw the house that we bought. We bought it online. I don't think that's an industry standard by any stretch, but we were coming from two different countries. My husband is Canadian, I'm American, and we were kind of doing the two country living, working situation. Like a lot of people may be looking for a second home, but we fell in love with Detroit Lakes immediately. I always like to say, I think there's kind of three groups of people. There's the lifers, the people that grew up here, lived there their whole life. There's the Lakers, those that had a lake connection, came every summer, grew up with their grandparents, have generational cabins. And then there's people like me who just came in, found their lane, found a great group of people, became friends with the Lakers and lifers, and have found their niche and made it home. And I've lived here it'll be 20 years this fall. And it is definitely the longest place I've ever put roots down. But it's a little big town. We grow in the summer, I dare say, to probably 30, 40,000 people. So we feel a little metro, but we are on the outskirts of metro, not very far from Fargo-Moorhead, not very far from Minneapolis, St. Paul, and yet we have that small town nostalgia where everybody looks out for each other. We still have some amazing novelties. And when our community wants to get things done, we just step up and we do it. Detroit Mountain is an example. Our community center is an example. Pretty soon, we're going to have a brand new Becker County Museum. We decide we need a life flight helicopter. We raise the money and we put a life flight in our town. You can't really put the value on living in a town like that when we want something or need something or someone needs help, everybody pitches in. And I think it's really easy to be an entrepreneur here too. I was thinking about that when you invited me to be on the show. I think people want to support hometown people. And we understand the value in that. And instead of price shopping and couponing and, wanting the great deal, what we want is for people to survive, people to thrive. And we want their success is our success. And so that differs a little. I look up and down Main Street and there's so many examples of amazing entrepreneurship. And there's so many examples in our town of generational and decade entrepreneurship, Lake Shirts being one of them.
Right. Yeah. And it's incredible to see that still lives on, even in an age like today where you're seeing more corporate or franchises take over. But yeah, I go back home to Detroit Lakes and it feels homey. There's a lot of local businesses you can support. And the community rallies around each other and it's so fun to see. And, I couldn't think of a better place that I would want to grow up in. And definitely very thankful of, all the years that I grew up in Detroit Lakes. And every time I come back, it's just like so much fun and I definitely miss it. And I could see us one day like moving back for good too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's, that's the success of Detroit Lakes. If people don't come back later in their careers, they come back to retire here. I mean, we have a strong retirement communities too. So yeah, it's a great place to live, work, and play. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I've been definitely thinking about retiring pretty soon. So I'll have to check out some of those communities.
Don't you retire before me.
28, that's the goal.
It's a good goal.
So I got to jump into the story. So, you had mentioned, you own and run the Detroit Lakes ice cream truck. So how did that come about? Just walk me through that story.
Yeah. So I'm going to be frank. I never once entertained the idea of owning a restaurant, a food business, a bar, anything, a food truck, anything. But in 2016, in the spring of 2016, I unfortunately was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I was home, had a lot of FaceTime with my phone and my computer while I was healing and going through treatment. And I was looking on Craigslist, and I saw an ice cream truck listed for sale. And I remember shouting out to my husband, I think I want to buy an ice cream truck. And he said, what are you going to do with that? And I said, sell ice cream. I said, it seems like an amazing opportunity. And it just seemed like it would fit in a resort town. It was owned by somebody in Detroit Lakes. So I had the luxury of knowing the previous owner and kind of talking to her about what she had done when I purchased it. But yeah, on a very cold and rainy April day, we met her. We went up and drove the ice cream truck, and immediately I knew in my heart I was going to buy it. We drove on Highway 59 and people were waving at us, and we turned on the music and just the whole vibe. And I think sometimes, things happen for a reason. And I was at a little, not so great point in my life. And this just seemed like a really happy thing to insert into my life. And I bought the truck. And the first year I ran it, it was just figuring out what kind of the truck was about and what the food truck culture was about. And to be honest, I was just having this conversation with another food truck owner in Detroit Lakes. When I applied for a transient merchant license, which is what you need to operate a food truck in this town, there was only 2 of us in the town that even had transient merchant license. Wow. Now there is like 8 of us. So the food truck culture has just grown strong. And I'm in my 5th year. And what was really astonishing to me is even after my first year, I was making money. And that kind of was like a whoa moment, because I'm not going to lie, I kind of entered into this doing a part-time profession, part-time passion thing. I thought, wow, what a fun thing to bring to Detroit Lakes. If I make a little money as a side hustle, I can do all the things I love to do, donate to organizations, be part of fun things in the Lakes region. But I didn't really set out with the intention thinking that this really would be a solid moneymaker. And 5 years later, my perspective has changed immensely about the potential of food trucks and the ice cream truck. That's great. And I mean, like you said, there's nothing wrong with making money, especially in a business. Not. And, it does give you more resources to give back and to help the community and, help other food trucks flourish. And you guys have built just a community of food trucks. And like you said, there's 8 licensed now. And I feel like they almost travel together sometimes. It's like, where's the big event? Where can we give the people what they want, essentially, and where can we all benefit from this? So it's been really fun to watch that grow, because it continues to build the town and build the events up. And, whatever event is going on, it's like, let's all meet there and bring the people with. And, it's such a cool industry to be in. And I was so curious to learn a little bit more about the story, because I feel like not everyone's just thinking about this is my next business, is the ice cream truck. No, you're not. And that's why I say, leave your mind open, because if I had to if I had to say the 5 businesses I thought I would have, entered into, owning a food truck would have never been one of them. It wouldn't even have made top 10. So just always leave yourself open to possibilities. It's amazing the things that sometimes come to you, or an opportunity that's sitting out there in front of you, and you just make the decision to take that opportunity. And who knows where it's going to go. And you don't always have to have the long range plan the day you enter into something. That's something you might want to be more thoughtful about. I used to tell my entrepreneurs that, slow your roll a little bit, and let's work on the things that are going to build this into something, and decide whether it's going to be a business or a hobby or a mix of both. And there's nothing wrong with that either.
Right. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's really how I started. I read the book Rework, and it really just changed everything, how I looked at business. And, I didn't have like a 10-year business plan, and that's okay. And I was like, well, let's figure out if I can do this thing, and let's get a client on and see if I can, do what I'm telling them I'm going to do, and see if I can add value to their business and their lives. And let's start there, and let's start today, not a year from now. Mm-hmm. And so I think, and I try and preach about that quite a bit, just because I feel like there's so many people out there with an idea or with a hobby, and they want to try and turn it into a business. And you can at least try to, and it doesn't have to be this quit your job tomorrow and take this giant leap of faith off the cliff. A lot of times there's options where you can start it and still work full time on the side. And that would be my advice to somebody looking to start or having ideas, to reach out to somebody, put people in your corner to like give you some advice, but also like try to start today, not in a year. And, it doesn't all have to be perfect, because I'm sure, as you can talk about, like, things change, and what you had planned, sometimes you have to scrap it and pivot, and that's okay. So I guess that was a good segue into, like, what sort of advice would you give somebody looking to either start a business, or they have a hobby and, it could make money? Like, what would you give? What kind of advice would you give to somebody like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a lot of things I could say, but I guess, I'm going to jump off of what you just said. Is it doesn't have to be perfect. Find your jumping in point and try it. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people get caught up. My good analogy always was, a lot of people would get caught up in buying the backpack and all the fresh school supplies and the fresh crayons and all that stuff, but they never went to school. Right. And so sometimes you need to, go to school and learn a few things, and then you can back up and have, the shiny new backpack and all the brand new crayons and the brand new ruler and the nice paper, crisp paper. But sometimes you got to go to school first. And I would say that's exactly what I did. I took a little bit of my own advice. The first year, I never even hired anyone. I drove the truck myself. Mm-hmm. I simply had a Facebook page. That's it. I didn't have any other marketing tools. And I grew that because I knew it was free, and I knew it was readily accessible to me, and it was something I could manage myself without getting, too much on board. I think another thing you need to decide down the road too is, there's always a fine line between profession and a hobby. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I used to say is, if you look at your top 5 bills in your household, and if this side hustle is not paying those, it's still in kind of the hobby phase, or it's still a side hustle. And there's nothing wrong with side hustles. A lot of people make a ton of money on side hustles. I never discount those, because you can pay for vacations and college and kids' braces and do things that you never could do with just your steady stream of income. So, but you kind of have to understand that, because if you're going to live off of this, then you have to be more mindful of, the revenue and the expenses, and putting the effort into elevating the kind of money you need to make to actually pay those top 5 bills. So I encourage, especially a lot of young entrepreneurs, keep the day job and work the side hustle till you can find a good balance, for sure. Yeah.
And I would definitely attest to that, because, I'm still working full time, and, running the business, lunch breaks, nights, weekends, and then, but also, putting, we have a great team that we've put together that, I couldn't do it on my own. So that has really helped me. But and to go off of that too is, if your revenue isn't there yet, where it's not going to kind of pay those expenses, look to see if you can keep all the money in the business and just, live off of what you make at your day job, and, give it a year, maybe 2 years, and just keep building it up, keep building those referral sources, the reviews, portfolio. Like, what can you show your future clients when you do make that jump? And just that reputation too. So I think you learn a lot when you do. And I think that's probably the most important thing somebody asking about this would do, is just to start, ask questions. And, it doesn't always have to be as scary as it may seem.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
So big year in 2020. It was a crazy year for all of us. We talked a little bit about pivoting too. How did COVID change any of your businesses, or did it? What did you do during this last year?
Yeah, it was very interesting for me because to talk straight up business, in 2019, I had my biggest year ever on the ice cream truck. It was phenomenal. I don't even know how to explain it. It was absolutely fantastic. And I think some of it had to do with, we became intentional with our bookings, where we could get a high return on small work. So things like weddings and graduations, and where there's, a lot of business in a short amount of time, I guess, versus just driving around in the onesie twosies. We still do that because that's who we are. But we became a little more intentional in building our revenue stream and being able to reinvest in the business a little bit. So then coming into 2020, we were shut down because we were basically like restaurants. So instead of going out at the end of April, our first gig was June 18th. And instead of making money, we were refunding money. We just felt like every other small business, we weren't going to take people's down payments for weddings and graduations and things that were not going to happen during COVID. So we were just sending money out, and we were just trying to get by. There was a lot of rules that we had to follow. I dare say it kind of took away a little bit of the funnest truck in town. When you have to wear rubber gloves and put a mask on, and not touch anything and have hand sanitizer on your truck. It just kind of, I don't know, it put a little bit of a damper on it. Sure. We still plugged along. We did do some business in 2020, but it certainly made us grateful for what we've got going on now in 2021. Since things have changed now, kind of late spring, early summer here, business has picked up. Things look a lot better. Probably our biggest pivot was just controlling our costs and not losing money. I mean, to be frank, that was probably the scariest thing. And I think probably all businesses could attest to that. Yeah.
I mean, what a crazy year. And I was just really curious about, so you were treated as like a restaurant then?
We're inspected and licensed I'm actually inspected and licensed by the Department of Agriculture. Food trucks can be a little bit different. If you prep food on your truck, then it's, you have to have like a food inspection. But I serve packaged treats, so there's no preparation on my truck. And so I have a little bit different inspection, but we were still treated the same as the food industry. We still had to follow the same guidelines and have COVID policies and all of those kinds of things. So, and the other thing is a lot of what you alluded to earlier, the food truck culture kind of came to a screeching halt. In this town, we have Food Truck Fridays where we all gather in the park, and you can come out and enjoy food truck lunch. We have Trucks and Tunes on periodic Thursday nights where it's live music in the park and the trucks are there. We are at a lot of special events and businesses and grand openings and customer appreciations, and all of that went away. So COVID just changed everything, and we couldn't do business as usual. So we just tried to do some business, like I said, to just mitigate the losses is really where we were at. So it wasn't as fun of a year. And it was a bit of a struggle. I would say I'm thankful I didn't have as high an overhead. So my struggle was less as some of the restaurant industry was. And I also only employ just a couple part-time people on a normal basis, but it still affected me. And Yeah, I'm so happy 2021 is looking much different.
Yeah,
Let's just say that.
definitely. It's good to be back. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure. I'm into that.
Yeah, it's going to be a big summer. And it's so exciting, for you guys and for a lot of people too, just to have events back and people spending money and people just out and about and, just happy. So,
yep.
We talk a little bit about ups and downs of entrepreneurship and owning a small business. And we talk a little bit about, COVID and how that kind of threw a wrench in some things. So do you have any stories or anything about maybe something negative that you've experienced in your entrepreneurship journey and owning a business? Anything that have maybe like made you want to give up on running a business or, go into the corporate world or anything like that?
Yeah. I think it's probably a couple of things that everybody faces. One of the ugly parts about entrepreneurship is you're the last one paid.
Yeah.
So if you do employ people, this is the way I feel, and it's usually the way all entrepreneurs feel. You want to pay your people, pay your bills. Yeah. And then, the little pile that's left really is what you get paid at. Yeah. And so, that's a constant reminder of how precarious entrepreneurship can be. Luckily, there's so many, good things that kind of keep you from focusing on that. I think the other thing is when people don't pay their bills or don't pay you on a timely basis, that is something I've really had to preach to entrepreneurs. When I was at the college, that was probably the number one thing I would talk to entrepreneurs about is invoicing on time and making sure you're collecting your money. Because if you don't have money in and you constantly have money out, you start to cycle in a downward, movement. And that's really what gets entrepreneurs kind of in a pickle, if you will. And in fact, one of the things that most entrepreneurs are horrible at is bookkeeping. That is not their strong suit. And so I think, hiring a professional in places that is really not your forte is something I can't preach enough. If you have to spend a few bucks on an attorney, do it. If you have to spend a few bucks on a bookkeeper because that's not where your talents lie, do it, because your business will stay accountable. It'll stay above water. You'll collect your money on time, and in the long haul, you'll be rewarded for it. Money collecting is not fun. Bill collecting is not fun. And I would say just the long hours. There's been times I've thought, is it all worth it? I could go to an 8 to 5 job. At 5 o'clock, I just, let the door slam shut and go home like everybody else. But I'm sure, and I know that you've experienced this since you do a day job and a side hustle, there's midnight and you're stuffing folders or licking stamps and you're thinking, oh Lord, is this going to be worth it in the end? But I think one of the things that keeps entrepreneurs coming back time and time again is there's a little buzz in people who love to be self-employed, and you feel it. You feel that sense of excitement and accomplishment. And when you have a victory, no matter how big or small, it even feels better because it's your own. And you're not celebrating somebody else's victory. I also think entrepreneurs like the fact that they're their own bosses and the buck stops with them. Yeah. So even when they make a bad decision, it's their own bad decision. But when they make a good decision, it's amazing. There's a little bit more control, if you will. So, some of those bad things are not necessarily something that would make me throw in the towel, but trust me, there's been times I've thought, gosh, maybe I should just do an 8 to 5-er and be like the majority of the world. But all great ideas, especially some amazing inventions and cool things have come from entrepreneurs who have stuck with it. So,
and it's definitely, and it's not for everyone too, but I would, urge people to give it a go and give it a try. And I think in the world of freelancing and subcontracting, it's actually fairly easy to, depending on the business, but to give it a go. And you'll soon find out, like, if you get that fever and you're just like, okay, maybe I should look more into this and start reading some books and start, just trying this, or you're just like, this might not be for me. So, I say just give it a go kind of on the side and figure it out a little bit, do some reading and research and see if you get that fever. But, cause I know kind of wanted to take that into the next step of, what is the most rewarding thing? And you definitely touched on it there. It's like, there's so many things, when you do own your own business that, I've learned to celebrate the small victories. And, especially like we work with other clients and we're a service business. So like we're celebrating their leads and their business and their accomplishments. And that's been incredibly rewarding to me. And I want them to know that as well. Like I'm here with them and for them, and like, we're going to do this together. Another thing too, which I know you're big on, is giving back. And, right when I started, and I'm still not even technically full time, but, I knew I wanted to set something in place of like, let's try and give back, even though we don't have the money. And, so maybe that's our time. Maybe that's, we came out with the Phaser fundraiser where we couldn't donate the $5,000, but we could use our skills and try to get the community together to donate. And, it's really just, that was the most rewarding thing. And it still is, of like what we do and what I do. It's just the giving back and like working with people and helping them with their business. And, I know you do a lot with giving back and volunteering. If you don't mind just touching on that a little bit, what you do with the Detroit Lakes area with volunteering and elsewhere.
Yeah. I'll be honest, in the years I was at the college, that's another thing I preached. I said, that should be in your business plan. You should have a plan for philanthropy. I truly believe that, if you reinvest in the community that supports you, or you reinvest in the customers that are willing to support you, you'll see the rewards multiple times over. And it's been true for me. It's absolutely been true for me. I've seen it in every business I've owned. If you're generous with people, the generosity is returned to you. And yeah, I am very involved in our community. I've always said that if you want to see change, you need to be the change. And you can't talk about what needs to be done if you're not willing to help step in and do it. I do serve on multiple boards. I've helped in many, many fundraising campaigns for projects in this community. I definitely have some passion projects. Obviously, the Humane Society is one of them. I helped raise the money and build the building for them about 20 years ago. And I have dog children, not real children. Yeah. So that's always been a passion for me. And there's so many other great nonprofits in town. I'm always happy to serve on a board, volunteer. Like I said, my background is fundraising and nonprofits. So a lot of times I use my skills and talents to assist in fundraising, grant writing, developing fundraisers for people. But, there's a lot of ways you can mix your business with that. Even when you're young and starting out, even when you're a new business and you don't have a lot to give, you can still give time and talent, even if you can't give, resources. And there's a lot of value in that. I've donated the time of my ice cream truck. I've donated ice cream. At the end of the season, when we clear the truck out, one thing I always make sure we do is we go around to area nonprofits, the police department, anybody who's in service to us in the community, and we just give out free ice cream. It's a way to say thank you. It's also a way for us to give back, and it kind of just ends our season on a high note. So I've been doing that the last 3 years. I absolutely love that. I look forward to it every year. Yeah. And there's nothing more exciting than blowing the door open on the police station or a nonprofit and saying, hey, we're here for free ice cream. Yeah. So like I said, be creative in your philanthropy, but build it into your business plan. It's a smart move. You won't regret it.
Definitely. Well, I'll make sure I'm around when you do that free ice cream.
All right.
Deal,
be there. Yeah. I'll give you a tip about where we're going to be.
Perfect. Sounds good. Well, Beth, I appreciate you so much for being on and really just helping us just dive in and just talk about business. And like I had mentioned earlier, we're really just trying to break down the walls of talking about entrepreneurship and talking about business. And if there's anyone out there that wants to contact me, I'm very open about like, here's my email, here's my number, shoot me a text, just let me know. And, I can, if I don't have the answer, I can point you in the direction of somebody who does have the answer. But as far as, your business and the ice cream truck and everything, what would be a good place for somebody to contact you either for business or if maybe they do have questions about entrepreneurship?
You bet. I'm always open. I've had other food trucks and other communities contact me asking about how to start up, but you can reach us on Facebook. You can also reach us at icecreamtruck@arvig.net. And we also have a phone number. It's 218-308-7765. So you can reach us any one of those ways, or if you see me out on the street driving the truck, you can certainly flag me down and we can connect. And I think a lot of people know how to reach me on my personal Facebook page as well. So I, like you, am always happy to answer questions, give back, offer some free advice, heavy emphasis on free, and tell them what I know about the businesses that I'm involved in, for sure.
Wonderful. Well, we will have your contact info linked below on the page.
Okay.
But yeah, I just appreciate it so much. I loved having this call with you, and we'll definitely be seeing you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right,
I
Beth.
appreciate being on. It was a lot of fun.
No problem. We'll see you later.